and Peter Strzok going to get money from the American taxpayer?
When that determination is made about whether settlement is made in that case, it will be announced.
You're back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, do you agree that yours and my job is to protect constitutional rights of Americans?
Yes, that's the easy one to agree with.
Okay, that's at least vigor in substance, so let's just go a little bit through the rights. And I want to explain to you how a lot of Americans in my district, in my observation or interested observation, do not trust and believe so. And this is an interesting observation. I've noticed that, you know, a lot of people that they come with cases and they say FBI showed up to my house, ATF showed up to my house, never showed up before, law-abiding citizens. When I ask them, were you in DC on January 6th? Strangely enough, a lot of these people usually say yes. And that is really looks very suspicious to me. But let's just talk about our amendments. Do you believe under the Second Amendment there should be, do you agree, no restriction on the quantity of gun that any law-abiding citizen should own? I'm not talking about types. I can own 5 guns, 500, or 5,000. Do you believe there should be no limitations on quantity of guns?
No limitations on what?
On the quantity, on number. 500 or 5,000 guns that I can own.
On the number of guns that people can purchase?
Yeah, for my collection.
I don't think there's any statutory.
Yeah, so there is no limitation. So you agree with that, right? So
I don't think there's
if I have as many guns as I want, you know, in my personal collection, do you think, you know, you have this new rule that you celebrated with your ATF director, which I think is very dangerous? Do you think there should be limitations on percentage of my collections that I should be able to sell, or time frame I can hold the gun? Like, you know, I could buy 10 guns and try to shoot them in the range, they're not good, and I went and sold them. Should be there any limitations on the time frame or percentage of how much of my collections I can replace?
There's an exception in the statute for sales from personal collections.
So I can do as many. I can say 500 guns, so it shouldn't be a problem, right? If I want to, if it happens that it's, you know, I just want to replace.
All I can say is there's an exception in the statute and the regulations with respect to sales from personal collections. I don't know the answer to the question about percentages.
Well, it would be good because American people would like to know the answer, because this creates a lot of dangers, and we'll follow up with the latter because, you know, this is called destroy people's life, and we already had this situation that happened in Arkansas. But then another, on the First Amendment, do you think people had the right to be here on January 6th of 21? You know, if they didn't want to do anything bad, they just be here in Washington, D.C. Do you think it's a constitutional right for people to be here?
Yes, people have a constitutional right to be in Washington, D.C.
That's right. So you have, how many Americans did you charge at Section 1512C2, obstruction of justice, and convicted?
I don't know the answer, but it's listed on the web page.
Yeah, so it's several hundred, a lot of people. Why this section was legislated? Do you know when the Section 1512C2, what is the reason that the section was legislated?
It has to do with obstruction of a...
No, it didn't have to do. You should know legal history, right? When it was legislated and why.
Okay. You're asking me a question the Supreme Court's about to rule on.
Okay, so the history. This section was legislated for Sarbanes-Oxley with Enron situation to deal with a situation that happened on the financial crimes, right? And actually, the title is tampering with a witness, victim, and informant. Is that correct? You agree with that?
We can have a long discussion on the...
Not a discussion, it's just the fact, the historic fact, when it was broad and ambiguous, but that's what was legislated.
The text of the statute does not make the limitation you're saying. All of this has been argued in the Supreme Court.
Okay, it's argued. And if your interpretation is wrong on the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is going to reverse this decision, do you have a plan? What are you going to do with all of these people that potentially wrongfully was charged? Do you have a plan?
Our plan is that we will follow the law that the Supreme Court tells us. We don't know yet what the Supreme Court will say. I can assure you we will follow what the Supreme Court says.
Well, but your ambiguous interpretation destroys people's life. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from... Oh, that's right. I apologize. Attorney General's asked for a brief break. We'll take a brief break. If we can make it 5 minutes, Mr. Attorney General, that'd be great.
Okay, great.